welcome to our webinar tonight, which is going to be one of our more exciting webinars. Before we get started and I introduce our presenter, Dr. Sonia Rinaldi, let me just say that I'm Bob Ginsberg, co-founder of Forever Family Foundation. And before I introduce our speaker, I wanted to mention that if you're not familiar with Forever Family Foundation, we are a global, not-for-profit, all-volunteer organization. We're approaching 13,000 members in 76 countries, and our purpose is simple. It's to educate the public about evidence suggesting that we're much more than our physical bodies and we survive bodily death. If you're not a member already, consider becoming one. It's free, and members receive advance notice of all of our events and retreats, and get special, pricing. If you're not familiar with instrumental transcommunication or electronic voice phenomena, get ready to be a bit amazed at what you're about to be presented with tonight. I'll also mention, I don't want to give anything away, but it's possible that some of you may even recognize images of your deceased loved ones. At the end of Sonia's presentation tonight, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. And if you move your mouse to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A section where you could click on that. You could type in your question. If you think of a question while Sonia is talking or want to wait till the end, you could type it in, but we'll address questions after the presentation is over. And having said all that, I am now going to introduce Sonia. She has an undergraduate degree in Anglo-Germanic languages, a Master's of Sciences of Religion, and a doctorate in Sciences of Religion. She's the co-founder and research director of the Institute of Advanced Research in Instrumental Transcommunication. That website is ipati.org. Don't worry, we'll be giving you, repeating that information and putting it up on the screen. Sonia is an international speaker, an author, a columnist, and she's been conducting research on instrumental transcommunication for over 35 years, even though she still looks like she's 40, getting some of the best results in the world, both in trans images and voices. She has developed novel technologies to record extracorporeal consciousness, such as communication with deceased loved ones, brain damage patients, unborn children, etc., and has introduced new devices to the field of transcommunication, such as a telephone or cell phone and Zoom. We will be posting information on how you could join her growing community and take part and see all of her work. And with that, I've said enough, and I'm sure you're anxious to hear from Sonia, so I will turn the proceedings over to her.
Thank you, Bob. So, hi, everyone.
Yeah, I think you're going to show your screen, right?
Should I do? Yes, I will share my screen. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about the evidence of the afterlife through communication via electronic devices. Okay. So ITC, or instrumental transcommunication, is how we call the communication between our plane of life, Earth, and some astral cities where there are transmission stations that contact us through technology. Okay, we call ITC only when the phenomenon happens through devices. Okay, no medium is involved, no mental anything, just technology. Okay, in truth, our terrestrial technology developed so much that it makes it possible now just to use a cell phone or a laptop for contacting the other side, or to be contacted by the other side. Okay, before that, when I started, for instance, I used the video camera and television and the telephone, lots of devices, but nowadays, simply a laptop is enough, or even a cell phone. The instrumental transcommunication phenomena can be either in voices or images, and we will be talking about both tonight. And we have also to remember that in each of these two big areas, in truth, there are lots of small areas. For instance, in images, we can have different levels of communication, and in voices you can contact unborn babies. We can contact extraterrestrials, all different levels of consciousness. What is important is to have in mind that we are talking with a consciousness, right, in the other side. By this moment, you may be asking how, or are these spirits solid enough to appear in images? Because you know that I'm going to show you some images, and will ask, are they solid enough? Or you may also ask, do they have devices for transmission? Or do they have a voice? Or you can still ask, how can then they access our devices? I hope that I can reply some of these questions or all. Anyway, if something is not clear, please feel free to ask me at the end, okay? Maybe many persons is listening about instrumental transcommunication today for the first time, but the history shows that this exists for more than 100 years. The first person who registered that thought of communicating with the dead ones was Thomas Edison. He published an interview in 1919, commenting that he had the intention of developing a device to talk to the dead, okay? But this was somewhat difficult, mainly because our terrestrial technology is extremely primitive. So it took very long to develop, to come to the stage that we are now today. Only in the years 50, there appeared electronics on Earth, and this was a huge step for the development. So things started changing and bettering as time passed by. Mainly after 2014, things started hurrying up, because it was exactly when it was announced that Nikola Tesla was assuming all the coordination of the transmissions for Earth. Let's remember that by the years 60, it started happening in Europe, many communications through voices. And they informed that they were speaking from a station that they called Central Station. One of the speakers from that Central Station to Europeans was Dr. Konstantin Raudive, who migrated to South in the years 80-something. And he is, since then, my main communicator up to date. Dr. Konstantin Raudive is the coordinator of the South Station, while Nikola Tesla coordinates the North Station. And more recently, 2 years ago, we heard and had news on the inauguration of a new transmission station for Asia. And we have a specific magazine about the first communications of the Asiatic station. Which are our objectives? First of all, is to raise evidences of the afterlife. In second place, it is to test to let the spirit friends to better the connection with us. And the third, to take solace to those who lost someone dear. But obviously, I cannot accomplish the first and second item if it is not helping people, so that while I'm assisting, let's say, mainly mothers, in truth, I'm helping the other side to better their communication, because we have to understand that this project is from the other side. It's not ours. Let's start showing some recent cases of apparitions. This is Wesley. His parents are from UK. He passed at the age of 13, and he taught us something new. He appeared as a young man, what was obviously a huge surprise for their parents, for his parents, right? Because he appeared older than when he passed at the age of 13. More than that, Wesley appeared in the video, which I obviously sent it to the parents, not only older than when he passed, but also younger, and in many different phases of his life, showing that now he looks like, let's say, something like 20, 25 years old. What is extremely, which is well explained by Spiritist literature, because it is said that the spirits, when they die as a child, they will grow up until more or less the age of 30, maximum 40 years old. And when the person dies old, let's say with 90 years old, this person will renew and will also be around the same age, 30 or 40 years old. So what we are showing in images endorse what the Spiritist literature says. Here, I'll show you the video for you to see how the phenomenon happens live, okay? So this is Wesley's case, and I want you to observe that this clear part here up is the ceiling of my laboratory, and these these dark walls are the walls just as they are behind me. So you can observe that the images are something like floating in the air, okay? So let's see the video. You see that Wesley looks younger initially. I have to freeze the frames, otherwise we cannot observe precisely. So note that he is getting older in the same video. And this is pure technology of the other side. Observe that he goes on changing, but still he can be recognized by the parents. The same type of smile, the same type of looking, but older. You can compare with the photo. Obviously, that all this quality is possible in the recent years. After 2014, as I said, since Tesla brought a new technology for transmitting the files to Earth. Okay, so let's move. Now let's see Brittany's case. Brittany passed at the age of 21 years old, and her mother is Susan. And this was also a recent and very special case. So what happened was that Brittany appeared in beautiful transimages, as you can see here. And her mother could easily recognize her. But in a certain point of the video, I couldn't understand how Brittany, that was blonde with dark eyes, appeared. Oh, I'm sorry. Before saying that, let me show you this case that Brittany moves the mouth in the video as sending a kiss to Susan, her mother. Now, yes, I was telling that all of a sudden in the video, there appeared a blonde girl, but very clear green eyes. And then I thought, is that possible that it was in truth, Brittany has green eyes, and in the photo that the mother sent, it was an impression that it was brown. So I decided to ask Susan, because we were working in that moment about 1 month ago for mothers who lost the only child, right? So those mothers had just one boy or girl and lost this boy or this girl. So Susan said, no, my daughter Brittany has brown eyes. And I thought, but how is that possible that she is appearing with green eyes? And then all of a sudden, in my mind, I said, no, Susan had another baby. Let me ask her. And then I wrote it to Susan and asked it casually, have you ever lost a baby? And she immediately confirmed she had a baby girl that passed when was born. And so, yes, she had 2 daughters, but she didn't know that she had one in the other side that grew up and is around Brittany's age now. So this is Brittany's sister. And the mother not even knew that she had 2 daughters. She thought she had one. So it was a very interesting case. This is Alejandro. He is the son of my friend Lydia from Florida. Alejandro passed at the age of 27 years old, but he was father also, and his boy also passed. So Lydia has the son and the grandson in the other side, right? Both. So look now, as they both appeared. They appeared side by side. This is Alejandro's sons, so Lydia's grandson, and observe that in the transimage, both are together. So this is something like a message, an information that Lydia could ever expect. And this made her very, very happy because she knows that both son and grandson are together. And observe the detail of the transimage of the grandson. Look at his chin. It is exactly as the photo that Lydia, similar, right? It is not the same. Okay, now let's see Neil's apparition. He passed at the age of 11, and her mother, Laura, wrote it to us. And Neil's was a very curious case because he appeared in out of the blue, let's say. But as I had seen a photo, when I saw the transimage, this one that we see at the right, I thought, oh my, I think I know this boy. And then I said, oh, this is Neil. And then I sent the transimage to his mother and asked, is this your son? And she promptly confirmed and sent another photo. So imagine what a surprise. We were seeing cases of apparitions. Now we will see some cases of transfiguration. What is the difference between apparitions and transfiguration? Apparition is when the transimage of the loved one appears, from nothing, from out of the blue, as you say. Transfiguration, no, it is another type of phenomenon when we have a person in front of my camera, or a photo, or a cloth, or a paper, or a wall, something that will be changed. It will be, as they say, transfigured into something else. For instance, one photo can become another person, okay? And that is what the cases that we are going to see. For instance, we have this case of Patricia. I don't know if she's watching us tonight. She is from Vermont, close to New York. And she was in a workshop when I was in Orlando. And I was filming Patricia, sat down in front of the camera. And Patricia was transfigured into her daughter, Melissa. Melissa passed at the age of 18 of a heart problem. And it was something very curious, the detail that in the transimage that was replacing Patricia, the girl appeared with the curly hair. And the photo that I knew from Melissa was this one here at left with plain hair. So I was surprised to see that when Patricia was transfigured into Melissa, the hair was all curly, and I didn't know that the real hair of Melissa was exactly like that and not plain as in the photo. Right? So presently, let's say that her hair is precisely as it used to be naturally, okay? How I've been working with, I have been experiencing with some mothers. Because all the time I change the way that I record, because as I say, my main objective is the research. So I have to change so that the other side can experience different possibilities, right? So this is one of the possibilities that I developed and worked very well. And it is something like this. I make a connection through Zoom with a mother. Let's say that this is Lisa, my lovely friend, my right arm in US. And Lisa is in her home in Maine. And I would ask Lisa to hold the picture of her daughter and show the picture, as you can see up here at left, show the photo of Amber in this case to the camera. Right? So that I am here in Brazil, I would be seeing in my screen Amber's picture, right? Because Lisa would be holding the photo toward the camera, right? So the idea is that the photo that Lisa is holding would be transfigured into something else, okay? So let's see one of the cases of Amber's apparition, and you can see here Lisa up here at left holding the photo in her hands, okay? In the second photo, the same thing, just more detail, the same photo. So this was what I was watching in my screen. Let's remember that Amber passed at the age of 25. And here we have exactly the photo. And this is the transfiguration. The photo that was in Lisa's hands make a mouth to send a kiss. And obviously that is Amber transfigured. It is something like the photo could get life. This is another case. This is Krista's case. Krista from Oklahoma was the person that Robert chose for participating of the documentary that he was making about my work. So Robert made, it is a 1 hour and a half minutes, 30 minutes of the documentary. And when Robert came to Brazil, as you can see in the photo, he is behind me, and I was working, and he was recording everything that I was recording, right? So he asked me to make the contact when he was here to make the documentary with the two ladies, and one of these two ladies was Krista. So Robert was here all the time. He was here for some 5 days. And we made the contact through Zoom with Krista. And I asked her to hold, in her case, she lost her mother. Okay, so I asked Krista, while Robert was filming behind me, to hold her mother's photo. And you see here at left the photo that Krista was holding, and how beautiful and younger she appeared. As I said, the persons who dies with more age will get younger in the other side and will appear younger and well and healthy and never old, and they never appear old. This is the 2 minutes of the trailer of the documentary, in case people would like to see. There are lots of witnesses of mothers talking about my work. So if you are interested in seeing the documentary, Lisa has all the information. I'll show you the trailer. More and more loved ones who passed, they are appearing.
Its spirit can manipulate things from the other side, and it's resonance. It's all resonance.
It's hard to really stretch your mind around what her work is, but it is absolutely authentic. It's real. This woman has no agenda. There's nothing that she's trying to gain out of this other than to help all of us heal from those that we've lost.
The work of Sonia Rinaldi brings a new dimension to the study of the afterlife.
You blend in with your energy, and that's how they can do the work, and that's how you get your outcome. That's how she's been able to get some of the magnificent outcomes.
So that is the documentary, and that was also the Krista's case is there. Now, I want to show you some developments of the images. This is Samantha's apparition. Observe that she passed at the age of 25 years old with a brain tumor, and she appeared as here as a little girl. And then when I sent the transimage to her mother sent me back this other photo of Samantha when she was a child, and observed that it is just the same girl, and obviously recomposed, the beautiful, happy. And also one phenomenon that is very common in our work is that the lovely one seems to make a time trip in his or her life. For instance, this is still Samantha, now older, than when in the previous transimage. So the mother sent this other photo just before she got sick, and she had also problem of eyes, and all this was recovered, and the mother could see how happy Samantha is now. This is Connor's case, also in beautiful transimages. This lady, Kathy, she lost 2 boys, right? And this is one of the apparitions of the boy, younger, also as a little boy. But I think that the transimages that we're seeing now is not what we had, let's say, 10 years ago. So it is bettering and bettering. I would say that the transimage is more perfect than the photo that the mother has. Mr. Imbo's case from South Korea. This was when the Asia station was inaugurated, and Mr. Imbo appeared also younger. He passed at the age of 69 from cancer, and now he's young and beautiful. And this was also a curious case. I was assisting mothers who lost more than 2. In this case, Jennifer lost 3 sons, and these are the 3 sons that she lost. Asia, with 16 years old, Amarendra, with 21 years old, and Saki, with 25 years old. And in the transimages, all of them appeared in different ages. Look at how beautiful this boy, Amarendra, appeared. Obviously, moving the eyes, sometimes the head. This is Asia's apparition. And this is Zaki's apparition. So the 3 boys appeared, but better than that, they appeared in the images together with one or other, or the 3 together. Here we see both in one image. So if you think of the technical side of the thing, how difficult it has to be to send 2 brothers in one single transimage, in one frame. So you see, it is sometimes so perfect that you have to pay special attention to observe that there are 2 boys there, not 1. And in here, the 3 boys are together. You can see Zaki first. Then in the middle, Amarendra and Aja. So the 3 boys are together. And this was sent from the other side. One technique that I've been using, and it is been wonderful, is to use vapor. Vapor from humidifiers, those that we have at home. Nothing special. This is Patricia. We talked about her some minutes ago. And she was in the workshop with that one that appeared in Melissa. But also, we had 40 participants in the workshop. And Patricia was one of the participants in Orlando in this event of We Don't Die. And I asked each attendee that was sitting in front of the camera to put in the lab a humidifier so that the vapor would go flow up to the face of the person, right? So aside Patricia's head, observe that they designed a huge image in the vapor. This is Aisha apparition from Australia. She passed at the age of 6. And in the vapor, she seems to be waving with a little hand as to saying a special hello to the mother. And this was in the vapor. Also, Shane was also in Orlando. It is from the same event. Observe a big dog. Because yes, the pets are also alive in the other side and they also appear. Now, more recently, we are coming to the 3D faces. And this is something that we are expecting for many, many years. And I think that we are achieving it let's say 1 month or 2 ago. Observe it again, that this image is floating because remember that this is my ceiling of the lab, and these are the walls, the black, right? So you see that the image is transparent and it is floating in the air. Observe how 3D this image is. This is my main communicator and the special friend, Dr. Konstantin Raudive. He came from Europe, as I said. He was a pioneer of instrumental transcommunication in the years 1960. And when he passed, he started working in the Central Station that attended Europe. And then he moved to South America, and since 30 years or more, he is my main communicator. So observe that he appears, it is something that you can nearly touch. It is something like 3D. This is Aaron's case. This boy is a case that I'm working these days. And as I knew that his mother would be watching this presentation, I decided to add this transimage from Aaron. And when I was choosing, I noticed something so curious. Observe that Aaron appeared in an image again with 2 in 1. Observe that the left side of the transimage is Aaron older, and the right side is Aaron younger. So all this is something that I am surprised myself with the huge technology that the other side reached. Obviously, much more developed than ours technology, right? And this is the Unknowns catalog that I offered to Bob, and Lisa will be leaving the link for everyone who wants to see. In this recent catalog, we gathered nearly 500 loved ones that were unknowns. That is, let's say, that persons that are not expected. So we put a number so that many persons, when see the catalog, can identify a loved one. And I just copied some pages with different numbers just for you to see. So this is a gift that I'm leaving to Bob and this audience, so that you can see later. Lisa will leave the link, so you can see all the nearly 500 loved ones. Maybe you can find someone that you know, and I'm sure that you'll be very happy. And that's why all of them have a number, so that you can send a photo to us, as Lisa will explain. Just other 2 transimages that we have no idea who they are. So this will be at the chat for all of you. Okay. Now we are going to talk about the audios, so about voices, and we here in Brazil developed a device that we call light bridge, because it is really a light bridge in the meaning of the technical meaning, because we make the sound to become light and from light to become sound back, so that when it makes this transit from sound to light, from light to sound back. It is the moment that we thought that the other side would be more capable to manipulate the light and convert it into the messages that they wanted to send it to us. So we are now testing, we've tested four versions of the light bridge. This is the engineer, my friend Thales, who is developing the idea. In truth, this idea is not new. It was a Brazilian inventor that 100 years ago, when he was including with Thomas Edison in New York, Father Roberto Landel de Moura. This priest, 100 years ago, thought that he could make a communication through light. And we are basing our project in this same idea. So that is the version 3. We are now testing the version 5. And I'll show you some audios so that you can see how they sound, right? So here we have, sometimes I have to put questions to Tesla. And here I asked about Thomas Edison, because I think everybody knows that when they were alive, Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, they were deep enemies. And I wanted to know from Tesla, since he is the general coordinator, if Thomas Edison would work in the same team, because they were enemies, right? So when I asked, will Thomas Edison work with our team? He says, he's my brother. So let us listen. Will Thomas Edison work with our team?
He's my brother. He's my brother. He's my brother.
I think that this is a very nice reply, right? Will Tom? Here we have just for you to listen to his voice. I say, can I put some questions? I asked the Tesla, and he says, yes, can receive.
Can I put some questions?
Yeah, it receives. Yeah, it receives. Yeah, it receives.
Can I? Yeah, we have one audio that I like. This is Stefania's son, Cameron, that said in a recording, this is one of the greatest invents. And then I say, hi, Cameron. Observe that he is referring to instrumental transcommunication. So I think they consider that this is one of the greatest invents for the other side, right? Instrumental transcommunication. Let's listen.
This is one of the greatest invents. Hi, Cameron. This is one of the greatest invents. Hi, Cameron. This is one of the greatest invents. Hi, Cameron.
Okay, so this was what I had to show tonight, and let me put this back here, and I will interrupt the share. stop share. Okay, so that's sort of what I wanted to show to you. So if you have any questions, please.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. That was wonderful. I'm, we have a lot of questions. Some of them we've been able to answer live as they come in. Let's go to some other ones. Let's see. One question, could you use an analog device like an antique typewriter, even though it's not electric?
Well, when I started the recording 30 years ago, I was obviously using analogic recordings, tape recordings, cassette recordings, and all these old devices. But no, in truth, it's still, that was electric. I think that the person is questioning of something which is not electric at all. So in this case, no. Why? Because these would require energy that would require a medium of how to say physical effects to make this happen in an ordinary device like a machine which is not electrical. So let's say that from the station, yes, they needed to use it electric. Yes.
Okay. This is a pretty broad question here. How can I communicate with my husband like Sonia did with Tesla? If so, what's the best way to try this technique? Is there special equipment necessary?
No, I think that the special necessity is the patience and the persistence and the determination. I think that that is the item that is the most important. It is not the device itself. So I think that for me, well, I love images, so I am suspected to say, but I think that it is always easier to start with images, which can be tested with very simple ways. For instance, during many times before I use vapor and lights and all these recent technology, I used to use things like bubble plastic, and bubble plastic is something extremely cheap, something like $1 the meter, and that is exactly what all you need. And my suggestion would be, who is interested to see our all our history, because what I have been doing in these 35 years is to register everything that I do and publish in magazines that are free for our patrons. So we usually produce 4 magazines per month, so it is a lot of information. So you have my previous experiments with bubble plastic and all the results that happened. Also, I used the cloths with shine, because the shine could produce the images. So it would be interesting, if anyone is interested, to see these past experiments, not necessarily what I'm doing now, because it is obviously an advancement. But to start, I think that, for instance, bubble plastic is very, very easy. And also recording voices, but also it is convenient to have special information for producing some sound in our space-time, so that your husband could express. So, but I think it is just a question of having the will of getting informed, and then you go.
Thank you. This question questioner wants to know, how do the loved ones actually come through? And what can we do on this side to help them come through?
In truth, I think that this technology that they are developing in these 100 years is something that they are doing the best to make it totally independent, totally technically, so that they don't depend on us. Why? Because they intend this to be spread all around the world in the future. I don't know which future, if it is something that is going to happen in some 1 year, 2 or 3, or in 10 years. But anyway, obviously the objective of the other side is to test so that they can develop and get in touch with anyone in the world without any special ability from the person, right? So I think that one way that the person can help is getting informed, participating, and sharing what we are doing. This is already a big help.
Why did you decide to get into this research?
Because I think that I am very, how do you say, a very rational person. And, you know, I would say that I wouldn't believe in anything if I didn't have the experiences that I have. So I would be, how to say, at you, I don't know. I wouldn't believe in anything if I couldn't have the proof myself. So when I started, I had no idea that we would come to the point that we are today, obviously. I thought, for instance, that that was just a recording in tapes. When I started, it was in cassette tapes. And then obviously I just thought, oh, this is just to talk to the dead. Let's see if this is true, because this would, you know, change my life, as I think it changes anyone's life when you think that afterlife is a reality. And that's why I started, because I wanted to be sure that I was not being, it was not something that was, how to say, they were cheating. I don't know, say, that's a lie. I wanted to be sure myself, and that's how I started recording.
You know, I just wanted to take a break and ask you my own question, Sonia, while I have you. You know, and some people that research and try to do this thing on, you know, on their own when it comes to ITC and EVP have a lot more success than others. It seems to come easy for some people, and in your case, you seem to have this extraordinary, you know, ability, you know, to connect. Do you ever think that you're acting as a medium when you are gathering all these communications?
No, I don't think so. I think that the difference is the 35 years. I mean, I think that the other side, we have to think of as per their view, right? And they have to be very careful with us, because we humans, we are not that trustable. We can change of opinion, of position very easily. And this is a huge tool, an extremely huge tool that they cannot put in wrong hands. So they are very careful with us, right? So as I said, they don't want to depend on us. They let's think that these are great Thomas Edison and great Nikola Tesla and so many other geniuses. They are developing a technology that is crossing dimensions. So this is something extremely important. If this comes to wrong hands, this could be used for military purposes, right? So obviously that initially we think, oh, it would be wonderful to talk to my loved one, but this is just the let's say the good side, but there is also possibilities of using for bad. So they are very careful. So as I said, they don't want any person with special abilities. What they need from us is seriousness, honesty, determination, will of helping. For instance, I never charged for my work. So I think that all these count for the link to be established. And anyone can do this. If the person has patience, determination, it is what they need. It is not a special ability.
Thank you. Another question, is there any specific reference on why the colors on the images display differently? Some are more green and blue and so forth. So how do you address that? You know, she mentions if there's any reason that you could think of why the images display differently as far as color patterns.
I think that we are talking, if we're talking about the present technology that they use, which is now different from what they used in the past. Presently, they use what is now here on Earth. It is beginning to be thought. It is the theory about resonance, right? And there is a physicist who is great on this. His name is Haraim. I don't know how to pronounce it, his name. He lives in the US, I think. And he has a theory about resonance where things in truth are transferred from one space to another without crossing, without making the way. So it is from, let's say, from the transmission station, and it appears here. So there is no way coming. It is like a virtual reality that can be connected without making to cross the way. This would be obviously a technology that we humans are still far from it, but it is the beginning to think of resonance. So when they make this transference of digital data, possibly it is very difficult in these initial phases that they are testing. So the colors possibly is something different from when it get out of the transmission station and when it arrives here. But I think that they are trying the best for bringing the most perfect files that they can. So the colors, I think, makes part of this package of the transmission.
Thank you. So we see that most of the voice recordings are generally very short. So this person wanted to know if you ever record longer conversations from spirit.
No, because this is not possible, not yet. Maybe one day, maybe as this develops. But at this moment, what we have to think is always in the technical aspect of the thing. So they have a very little seconds for manipulating the sound that is in our space-time. Let's remember that out of our Earth, there is no sound. So the sound has to be worked in our space, otherwise it will not reach our ears. So they have, it is a real magic that they can open, let's say, a wormhole and manipulate the atoms and make the mechanics of the sound to become words. with sense. So it is a real magic how this can work. Obviously, that we think in an easy way when we think that someone will get a microphone and will speak, but this person is not in our space time and they don't have microphone. So how they can manipulate the sound? It is something extremely quick. They have some usually 2 or 3 seconds for making this operation. That is why now they still cannot make anything long. And anything long will not be real, I can assure you. So it is how the technology makes it possible today. I suppose that obviously it will get better in some years, but now it has to be short, yes. But another point that is extremely important is that even that the sentences are short, yes, they are, but this is a topic of very specific intelligence, because it is very difficult for us to reply in 3 words something that you had asked, and they do. So I'll give you an example. Once I put a question for them, for the other side, and asked them, is reincarnation real, and made some explanation in my question, because this and that and so. And then in the reply, with the 3 words, they said, it is what repairs. I don't know if it is correct in English, but they meant that it is what repair your errors, your mistakes in your life. So yes, reincarnation is true, because it is how you will repair your mistakes in previous lives. So in 3 words, so it is extremely intelligent, right? Because they don't have time to give you big explanations. So yes, they are short, yes.
Yes, thanks. Question, when the voices come through, do they sound the same, have the same voice as when the person was alive?
Yeah, that is a test that I made, and it is also published. By the way, I forgot to say, I have some 120 e-magazines. As I said, I'm publishing nearly 1 per week, and they are free for our patrons. So it is, we are not making money with it, right? So in these magazines, I have been showing. Sorry, Bobby, what did you ask? Because I made a turn and got
Well,
lost.
if the voices on the recordings are the same voices that person had, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I remember. Yes, it is like this. For something to work now, at least nowadays, as I say, it has been changing, and it will change for better, obviously, in future. But nowadays, what make possible a communication through voice is when you offer from our side what we call a gibberish, some sound, some voice that doesn't mean anything, something like syllables without any meaning. And this will be reorganized in that very short time that I mentioned, will be reorganized into the reply. So the voice will sound precisely the voice that you offer. For instance, that's why, for instance, if I don't have the voice when the person was alive, we can use, let's say, per age. For instance, let's say that this lady would like to talk to her mother. So if we don't have her mother's voice to use, to break it and to play it in syllables, we will use any other old lady's voice. And this voice will reply the contents for the person, but the voice will be the one that we offer. So there is no communication if you don't use a voice or a sound in our side, because as I said, they don't bring something from their space to ours. In the case of the voices, they manipulate the sound that we offer here. So it will be the voice that you offer. I made it, there are 3 or 4 magazines in which I invited mothers who had the voice of the sons or daughters recorded for any reason, right? Or from a party, from anything. And there were, I think that 5 moms that had casually the voices of the sons and daughters. And then what I did was to break the voice that the mother had into very small syllables, very short sounds, and played it, putting questions. And it was amazing. I remember that there was one specific magazine when Blake, the son, replied, and it was extremely curious because the recording that the mother had was a class of maths. Her son, Blake, used it to participate of classes of mathematics. He loved mathematics. So he recorded it, and that was the recording that the mother had, something like, the triangle and something, numbers and all these. And then we cut all these sounds, and in the replies, Blake was great. And the mother was extremely surprised. So that's how it works.
Thanks. This is kind of a difficult question. What do you speculate is the mechanism that allows this process to work? I mean, is it an imprint of consciousness, or any thoughts onto why this is, or how this is possible?
Sorry, Bobby, I think I didn't understand the question. Could you please say again?
Well, the question was basically, how does this work? What's the underlying mechanism that allows consciousness to
Okay.
make an imprint in voice or image?
Yeah, look, we have to think. I think that unhappily, I also use it to see life as this life, right? So that is what we see. That is how our mind works. But if you think that whenever we die, all our personal characteristics, such as our memories, our wishes, our dreams, everything will go with us, right? So our interests, mainly our profession, our interest in specific areas. So you may think that all those inventors or genius or great engineers, physicists, all these guys, when they die, what will they do in the other side? They will not be praying, I'm sure. They will wish to gather to other inventors and try to do something to go ahead from the point they did on Earth. That is what Thomas Edison does, Nikola Tesla, and so Dennis, all those guys that were inventors here, they are together now, and they know how important it is to tell mankind that we survive after life. So they are using their brain, their intelligence to create a technology that makes possible to reach us. So I would say that the purpose of these groups of persons that were inventors and technicians of all types is to help mankind, right? Showing technically in a way that one day all these will be scientifically investigated. So they are helping mankind. That is what they wanted to do. That's the aim of their lives now.
There was a question. Have you received messages on the general nature of the afterlife? You know, in other words, I would imagine no, because, you know, they're mostly short, you know, answers, not the essays and, you know, descriptive. So, you know, the person wanted to know if you ever receive communications that tell us what the afterlife is like.
I think that we have to go step by step. It is useless to bring today a huge comment about these exist already in lots of literature. At least here in Brazil, we have some 1,000 books. Only the median Chico Xavier wrote 412 books. So it is just one median left is so much information. So we know how life is. And by the way, there is a movie based on in one of Chico Xavier's book called in English Astral City, and it is a movie that I think that exists in Amazon for being rented, and I don't know if in Netflix or what, but so we have let's say in literature an idea. I think that what these guys are trying to do today is not yet this to tell about what they how they live. They are not. They are still in the chapter of being able to communicate. That is what they are trying in these 100 years. And it is absolutely not easy because they are not in our space-time. So let's say that their priority is still the communication itself. Later, possibly, these will make it possible to transmit movies from the other side, other things. But nowadays, what is possible is this, and this is a lot because there is nothing similar on Earth. It is something absolutely innovate to have something that is not from our space. But we didn't come to the chapter of the details of the other side. I think that by now for them it is enough that the phenomenon happens, and that's it.
Thank you. Question, how long does it take for a photograph to change when someone is holding it? I guess referring to the photographs that you posted where it seems to morph.
Yeah, well, the person holding the photo, they work by frame. Sometimes it is something so quick that our eyes wouldn't see if you don't stop. So, right, so you have to go frame by frame. So it is extremely the action is extremely efficient and extremely precise. Sometimes it is just one frame that is completely changed. But I have no idea how they do it.
Yeah. Okay. Another question, what is the best device to use to hear deceased loved one's voice? I think you addressed that. It really doesn't matter much what device you're using. I mean, any recording device, even your phone, you know, can be used, you know, turn it on for and then listen, you know, playback. But as you mentioned, I mean, some people can experiment with this for months upon months or years before they get voices, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This happens. But I think that the other side obviously is also interested in persons, dedicated persons in our side. The problem is that usually we have so many other things to think profession, family, and so many other things, it is very difficult to dedicate too much time for them. But this is extremely important for them because they, you know, they wanted to be sure that the person will not make any seriousness here in our side.
Okay. Question, can you use a radio that's between stations to hear a transmission from the other side? In other words, the white noise.
Yeah, yeah, this can be used. I used it when I started, but what I discovered is that let's always remember something that I learned in these years. What you offer is exactly what will be used. So if you offer to the other side, if you play a dirty, let's say, dirty sound, dirty because it is noisy, it will be shh, right? This is what it will be used. So when I started, and I also had only this information, obviously it cost me some years to learn everything. So I obviously also offered these sounds that was, it was dirty. So that was used. So the voices was dirty too. So it was something like whisper, because there was no clear sound. It was always something like right, because not in one station or the other. And another complicated detail is that the digital radios don't make possible you to use interstation anymore. This was possible when I started 30 years ago, because you had a dial for looking for the station. So yes, you could use interstation, but presently the digital radios don't make it possible anymore. But anyway, I don't recommend because it is a dirty sound. What I use is clear voice, clean voice, or broken, broken and mixed, so that it doesn't make any sense. And it still is a clean voice, not a dirty one.
Do the voices answer in their native language or a language that you will understand?
This item is something complicated. When I started recording, obviously they was always replying in Portuguese. Because when I started, obviously, I started with audio, with the voices for many years. I started with the images much later. So it was only Portuguese. And things were going well. And then I started getting some invitations to show my work out of Brazil. And then I said, okay, now I need some replies in English, because I will not show in Portuguese, right? It will not make any sense to the audience. And then I started putting questions in English. And for my surprise, the replies were in Portuguese. And then I tested it. I tried it many different ways. I tested it with a friend that lived in US. So I thought, well, maybe because he's in US, the answer will be in English. No, it went on in Portuguese. So I was, I was so lost why they couldn't speak anything in English. And it cost me some years to discover that each station has its own, I name my as a biocomputer, because I have no idea what it is. But let's say it is a huge machine that makes the intermediation between the minds of the other side of the consciousness of the spirits and our devices. It has to be done by a machine. It cannot be done by their minds. Otherwise, it would be as precise as it is. So then I discovered that each station, that's why there are many different stations, because they have this general machine, let's say, because we have no, we don't know precisely what it is. We only guess because of the precision that it has to be done by something like a huge computer, I don't know what it is, but anyway, this machine has something inside as the language with all the words, so that this machine can interpret all the feelings of the ones that you wanted to communicate in 3 or 4 words. Remember that this has to be done also magically by something which is not a brain like ours, because if you put a question, it will take longer for you to think in 3 words that reply that question. So it has to be done by a computer or anything very advanced, but it has specific languages in each station. Only when the North Station was inaugurated, finally, I could get the replies in English, because they worked together. All the stations work together. They worked linked among them. But at the beginning, only in Portuguese, because I was accessing only this machine for South America. So now reply the question, the language will be the one that the transmission station make it possible.
It's fascinating. Person asks, I mean, do you say or do anything to ask the spirit to come forward?
No, no. I think that after all these years, I think that it is something like an extension. I would say that obviously they are following us, this conversation, they are following us, seeing everything. I feel that they have a link with this place in a way that they know absolutely everything, usually much more than me. They know things that will be happening in the next hours, for instance. So I never have to ask anything. When the person asks me to make a contact, they know, they are watching everything that I do. So I don't have to ask, but they know what they have to do. And also many times bring more some unknowns, because they wanted to bring more people than those that I'm expecting, but they send as they want, and we select here.
Yeah, it's interesting. People tell me that people that experiment with getting voice phenomena recordings, that they have a set process, that they do it at the same time, every day or every week, and they either through thought or verbally, they set their intention, for the person in spirit to communicate. But you don't do that in your research, from what you're saying.
But I used it to do. I don't do now, because I think that this link is fully established. But I think that, but obviously at the beginning, I used it to record 3 times a week. And I think that all this is important for the other side to verify your dedication, your seriousness. So it is important that the person maintains a system of recordings. I think that this is good for the other side, and make it more organized. I think that my case is not a good reference now, because I do this all day long. So from Sunday to Sunday. So I'm more than connected, let's say. But so I don't have to do these anymore, no preparation, anything. But in the late years, at the beginning, I used it to do, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you up all night and it's almost, it must be past your bedtime there. I appreciate, your presentation. I can't
Thank
thank
you.
you enough for joining us. I'm sure that most people found the content fascinating. I will tell everyone that, we have been posting in the chat box the various ways to contact Sonia and to have access to the catalog of unidentified people in spirit. If you missed anything, we just put the catalog link up right now. Don't worry if you want to get a copy of the recording of this webinar because you missed some things. Just send an email to events@foreverfamilyfoundation.org and we will send you a link to listen to the recording. Also, Sonia works with Lisa, and you can contact Lisa at any time via email. We just put her contact information, her email contact information up, LANIEWSKI, the number 4 @hotmail.com. Thanks everybody for attending. I hope we see you down the road. And again, Sonia, thank you so much for the important work that you do as we search for continued evidence that our loved ones are very much alive and still part of our lives. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
good night, everyone.
Good night.